The WNBA is going to surpass the NBA in terms of domestic relevance.
Wow, wow, wow. The Indiana Fever have traded NaLyssa Smith and got Sophie Cunningham in a three-way trade.
All right, so here's the deal. If you're a WNBA fan, you already know things are heating up in Indiana. The Fever, who have been stuck in rebuild mode for what feels like ages, have finally decided they're done messing around. With Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, and Kelsey Mitchell on board, they're all about winning now. But that also meant making some tough calls, and one of those was trading NaLyssa Smith to the Dallas Wings.
I would just say, playing with confidence, just giving what the defense gives me, driving. One of my main things was just getting to the basket a lot more this year. And like I said, with such great players, it spreads the floor for me, so I have the opportunity, to drive, to shoot. So it's my main focus.
This move wasn't exactly shocking, but the way it all played out, the subtle jabs, the drama, it definitely gave us something to talk about. So, let's break it all down. Why did Indiana decide to move on? Why did Smith throw shade at the Fever on her way out? And is this actually a win for Indiana? Or did they just hand Dallas a major steal? Let's get into it. Back in 2022, when the Indiana Fever picked NaLyssa Smith as the second overall pick, it felt like they had found their franchise cornerstone. She was supposed to be the one for Indiana.
How about NaLyssa Smith and the way she has come back in the starting lineup playing very well?
She was coming out of Baylor looking like an absolute beast, averaging a double-double and dominating the boards.
Then, hitting from three. Second three of the game for NaLyssa Smith. Smith on the move. Push shot is good.
Her rookie year was solid. She averaged 13 points and 8 rebounds per game, showing flashes of greatness and proving she could be one of the best young forwards in the league. But let's be real, at that time, the Fever were a complete mess. They were deep in rebuilding mode, constantly rotating players, dealing with coaching changes, and trying to find a new identity after Tamika Catchings. Smith was supposed to be a key piece of the foundation they'd build around, and for a while, it seemed like she would be. But then, everything changed. Fast forward to 2024, and suddenly, the Indiana Fever weren't just rebuilding anymore, they were on a mission. Enter Caitlin Clark, the most hyped rookie in years. The moment Indiana secured the #1 pick, it was clear Clark was coming, and the franchise was about to rebrand itself. With Clark taking charge, Aaliyah Boston already looking like a future superstar, and Kelsey Mitchell still scoring at will, the Fever had to make moves that aligned with their vision for the future.
Man, she's insane. You could just tell, there's no hype behind what everybody be saying. That girl could really play. She could shoot. She could pass the hell out the ball. So, I got to get in shape to keep running so I can get my little layups.
And here's the harsh reality. NaLyssa Smith just wasn't fitting into the new system. It's not that she was a bad player, she was still solid, but her numbers were slipping. She averaged 10.6 points and 7.1 rebounds per game, but her efficiency wasn't great, and her game wasn't evolving the way the Fever needed. Smith's biggest challenge in Indiana was her fit within the modern WNBA. In today's game, forwards need to space the floor and knock down threes, but Smith wasn't a consistent outside shooter. This made it difficult for her to thrive alongside Aaliyah Boston. Defensively, although she had the athleticism, she struggled with positioning and consistency, which meant she wasn't giving the Fever what they needed on that end. And instead of complementing Boston, their skill sets often overlapped, limiting the team's overall effectiveness. With Indiana moving toward a more structured floor spacing system, Smith just didn't fit the direction they were heading. So what do you do when you have a young team, a superstar rookie, and a forward who isn't meshing well? You make a trade, and that's exactly what they did. Indiana traded NaLyssa Smith to Dallas in exchange for Sophie Cunningham, a gritty, three-point sniper who fits this new-look Fever squad perfectly. Why was this a smart move for Indiana? Shooting, and more shooting. Cunningham is a career 38% three-point shooter, which is exactly what you need next to Caitlin Clark.
I think a lot of people always have a lot to say with people they don't even know or shoes they've never been in. And for me, I think she's handling the pressure very well. She's doing a lot of great things for women's basketball. And I'm a fan. Like, I would love to play with her one day, for real.
Plus, Cunningham brings toughness and experience. She's been in big moments, played in playoff games, and knows what it takes to win. Better spacing means better offense. With Cunningham on the floor, defenses can't just collapse on Clark and Boston. This opens up the game for everyone. From the Fever's perspective, this was a no-brainer. Instead of waiting to see if Smith could adjust, they traded her for someone who fits perfectly right now.
What the Indiana Fever have pulled off this offseason, Sophie Cunningham, a real basketball player who is an Instagram model.
But let's talk about Smith, because she definitely had something to say about this trade. Some players handle trades professionally, brushing it off as just part of the business. NaLyssa Smith? Yeah, not quite. Right after the trade, Smith went on Instagram and changed her bio to say, "To play for an organization that believes in me." Ouch. That's not just shade. That's a total solar eclipse. Clearly, she felt disrespected by how things ended in Indiana. And honestly, who could blame her? If you go from being seen as a franchise cornerstone to getting traded just 2 years later, you're bound to feel some type of way. But was she really wrong? The Fever did believe in her at first. They gave her every opportunity to prove she could be that player for them. But basketball is about fit. And sometimes it just doesn't work out. So while her comment was definitely spicy, it's also understandable. For the Indiana Fever, this is a huge win. They're trying to build a championship caliber team, and Cunningham is a perfect fit for what they're aiming to do. Clark needs shooters? Check. They need defense. And toughness? Check. This trade makes them better right now, and that's exactly what they needed. For Dallas, this is a gamble, but one that could pay off big time. They already have a stacked front court with Satu Sabali and Tiara McCowan, but Smith gives them another athletic forward who can crash the boards and run the floor. If she can develop a consistent jumper and improve defensively, this trade could look like a steal in a couple of years. But that's a big if. Either way, the revenge game is going to be wild.
The Indiana Fever have traded NaLyssa Smith and got Sophie Cunningham in a 3-way trade. And boy, do I want to talk.
You already know, the first time Smith and the Wings face Indiana, it's going to be personal. Will Smith go off and prove the Fever wrong, or will Indiana's new squad run Dallas? Off the court? Either way, this trade just made the WNBA even more interesting, and we're all here for it. The Fever are officially done with the rebuild. They're building a winning team right now. Moving on from NaLyssa Smith was a bold move, but it's one that makes perfect sense.
I'm extremely excited for this opportunity. I promise you, Dallas, you won't regret this. That is fine. It's fine to just say that. Not to play for an organization that believes in me. Because they clearly don't. They clearly don't.
For Smith, she's got a fresh start in Dallas, and now it's up to her to show Indiana what they're missing. One thing's for sure, the WNBA just got even more fun to watch.